This is so cool stuff because like I can see my own behavior in this as well. This is so much clearer now. And hello, Borgers, and welcome to this week's episode of the Cryptogram. I'm here with Anthony, CSO of SwissBorg and co-founder. Welcome today, Anthony.
Hey Alex, hi the community. We're happy to be here today.
Wonderful. So today we're going to discuss market doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Market cycle versus human psychology. That's a bit to unpack there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when we look at when we try to learn to become an investor, most of the time we overvalue the skills versus the psychology. And I think it's normal, right? Because it's let's say it's more marketable for the industry to make you believe there is a technique or there is a learning that can be taught, and when you get this learning, then you are going to make automatically money all the time. And then we, as a consequence, I think we imbalance our training as an investor, and we look too much sometimes on the technical things, and we forget that we need to rewire our brain as well, and the way we conceive investment generally, which is different from, let's say, the way life is organized in order to become a better investor.
Very interesting. And I think the mental shift of continuously looking at your own sort of behaviors and actually looking at what is happening in the market. Because to me, that's something that I recently learned in the last recession, because I was constantly looking to learn and see, okay, what happened? Why is this recession coming? How can I take advantage of it? And rather fighting it, maybe surfing a bit of the waves. It was also, I think in the last 2008, I started to understand that, as a lot of tech stocks might go down in a risk-off market, a lot of minerals and sort of necessities and commodity companies go up. How would you, or where would you want to take it? Sorry.
No, I mean okay. So maybe we can start by. It's a topic that I love, by the way, because again, it's I see the learning beyond the only agenda of making money. I think the first lesson, or somehow the first insight that I can give to the community, is to say that when you start to invest, you need to forget, or you need to work very hard on yourself to deprogram yourself from being someone that wants a very fixed agenda or schedule with your earnings. So let me explain. When we look at the way the society is organized, we wake up at 8. It's depending if you work for a startup or not. You finish at between 5 to 8 or even more, and you do it again, and you have predictability over your income because at the end of the month this is how much money you're going to earn. And this is how your brain starts to think when it's come to money. Your brain wants the money to come in predictable streams. So when you start to invest, you replicate this pattern. And I've seen, what is very interesting is before SwissBorg, I had a startup and I had the chance to analyze millions of data to many investors, and I could see common patterns. So sometimes you don't even have to ask the question. It's almost show me your trading account and I will tell you who you are, right? It's a bit what it is. So what you do see, especially from beginners, and they try to replicate, because the brain is wired this way. So they say, that would be cool if I can earn 1,000 every month, or if I can earn $100 every day, because then my life will improve that much. And when they come to the market with this objective, then they start to they want absolutely to fit this objective, and they fit their own, what I call their own clock, or their own agenda to the market agenda, which is completely different. And the market is always the master. So you have to be in sync. So extremely difficult to become the clock of the market. There is few people in the world that can do that. And legally, it's supposed not to happen. But we know, legal is what it is. Anyway, that's another topic. What I want to say is, and the trap is when you force your own clock or your own agenda to the market, it can work. And sometimes it works for an extended period of time, until the day you lose everything. And then you're very disappointed. So you start to blame the technique. You start to say, you go directly, your brain start to go to say, I need to learn more. And you start to learn more, and this is how much money you're going to spend in trainings and all these things that happen on the education panel, and all these magic people that are selling magic recipe on the internet. And again, you lose yourself even more because you fail to identify the problem. Market is very much like life. When I look at you, Alex, in the past 3 months, or 4 months, you joined SwissBorg, you had a baby, right? So if you look at how your life was shaped and transformed in the past 3 months, most probably it's not equal to the way it was transformed in 3 months before this 3 months, right? So if you look at the element in your life that really change who you are, so the amount of information and transformation, which could be seen as a return, that you receive in very specific period of your time, they are unequal. So if I cut your life in months or in days, maybe in one day, the amount of information and outcome that happened to you is equal to 1 year in some other period. And the market is the same. The market do not deliver a continuous stream of outcome and return in a linear fashion. So it's very wrong to say, this is how much I want to earn every month, or to push your own frequency. The market has its own frequency, and there is nothing you can do about that. And that's what makes this game very interesting, very frustrating, but very interesting as well, is because sometimes you have to wait. It will test you for a very long period of time. And sometimes in one day, going back to the data I told you about, is when you look at the most successful trader, sometimes they make their yearly performance in 1 to 3 days, or even 3 years performance in 1 or 3 days, but they've been working toward that end. And they were trying to be in sync, right? And and that's why algo trading, most of the time, it's better than human trading, because algo doesn't care. Algo has an objective, and is identifying pattern and repeat this pattern no matter how long they last for. So what I want to say in essence is, the way as human, the way we have built our life as a society to function is around this Roman calendar with clocks and this notion of time. So it's a convention that we have decided all together to follow. What I like so much about blockchain is time now is counted in blocks. So we had Ethereum merge a few days ago, and I wake up at 5, and then I wake up at 8, and then I wake up and so on, because I was waiting for the blocks, and blocks doesn't happen in time. So you can imagine maybe one day in the future your watch is going to be counted in blocks. So what I'm saying is just a convention, but the market is not built upon this convention. So we look at information, we slice the information of a graph in days, hours. But we can completely change that if we want to, right? You can slice the information and saying, according to this signal, the candle will change, and then you abstract time, and you see completely different truth. And of course, market is a matter of belief as well. So there is a higher chance that if everyone is looking at the same charts, then there is some kind of auto-realization pattern, because value is a matter of belief that we want it or not. It's not as mechanical. But yeah, and essentially my first message is this one is, market happens for you, not to you, and you need to acknowledge that in a good sense. Yeah.
This to me is so cool because this is like a completely you're never taught this in school, in my opinion. Like I'm still struggling to like get my head around this because this enables so many opportunities in how I myself view the market, right? I usually go to the market with my own agenda. I want to make this much, or I want to have this sort of return within this time frame. But what you're proposing is something very different, and I like it. So where would the audience or the people listening to this, how could they start to identify market cycles that fits their, because there still needs to be a match, in my opinion. Like it's going to be impossible for a person to see every market cycle in each industry, in each. So building on what you've spoken about before, sort of align your belief with your investments, and then try and maybe understand the market cycles within your niche or within your industry, or like how would somebody that views this make this actionable?
It's a very good question, and there is no standard answer. But I think the first kind of advice that I can give to start with is to go back to basic math. So if you, so let's say if you look at the period of time of 3 years, and it only takes one day to make 30K, for example, right, or 36K, to be more simple with math. It's the equivalent. So if you look at 3 years, you say, oh, I earned 36K in one day. Like I was waiting for this moment to happen, or I was investing regularly, and at the end of this period, this is how much I made, which is the equivalent of 1K every month. So instead of forcing yourself to say, I want to make 1K every month, you zoom out and you give the time to the market to express itself, because what we see with the market is the higher the time frame is, so the more time you have, the more predictable it becomes. So interesting fact will be, if you look at the S&P 500, which we have more data than Bitcoin or any cryptos. If you look at, for example, 3-year cycle, maybe 60% of the time, if you randomly invest, you will make money. If you look at 5-year cycle, now it's going to be 70%. If you look at 10 years, secular cycle and etc., is going to be extremely high, because let's say the market value catch up with the intrinsic value with time, but not necessarily on the short time. So I think it's again going back to what are the toolbox for investor. It's a good, let's say, mix between learning the basics of investment, technical basic, but as well not overlooking financial planning. Financial planning is very important in my opinion. We overvalue sometimes trading and portfolio management over financial planning, and it's just a matter of terminology. But what I'm saying is, if you're not worried too much about the charts, but you spend more time understanding what's your income and how you are going to distribute this income as much as possible, how can you rationalize your consumptions, save a little bit of money in and there, and just throw money in the market, even just in blue chips or projects that are here to last. Then you can look back and say, oh, this is how much money I made every month. But it's more looking backwards than looking forwards, and wanting to to push your agenda. So I think it's as always. I think I love to talk about with my peers about what is required to be done. But also I like to experience. I see too often people talking about things a lot, and I shouldn't say that on camera, but I would say, sometimes crypto investment is like sex when you're a teenager, right? Everyone has an opinion, talk about it, but very few has practiced it. And I think you should be scared to practice, and you come with this objective to practice and know about yourself. It can reflect as well on your own life in so many different areas, because if you start to say, oh, I want to get married by the age of 30, for example, maybe you set the wrong objective. Maybe you should say, I want to be in love, or I will meet the person I'm in love with by 30. And marriage and everything else will come as a result. So I think it's again, the beauty of investment is when you take it on the personal journey, not only on the outcome journey, which is making more money, you can learn and reflect on these things.
Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting. Just as you say, with rather than maybe saying I want to be married when I'm 30, like I want to fall in love, uh, and then looking at, okay, what are good things to have for falling in love? Well, I might need to love myself, right? I might need to be happy with myself, to be in a position where I can fall in love more easily. And just reflecting on my own investment behavior, I've had the tendency, in all honesty, to as I get my salary, go, okay, now I have the money, where do I put it? And then I stress put it into products that I think are interesting rather than sitting on that money and looking at, okay, is now a good time to invest? Have I really evaluated? Do I understand the price to earnings of this share or of this crypto? Do I understand the revenue flows? Okay, if we're going into a supply chain disruption, is it good to invest in something that requires on-time deliveries to scale their business? Uh, so to look more at the fundamentals and to look more at the existing market cycle, because we are not the watchmakers of the market. We need to adapt to the frequency of the market and learn how to time it rather than to enforce our own time on it nearly.
Yeah, it's very well. What you say is very well put, and yeah, that's one of the learning, and I think that's what we're trying to achieve with this series is to, yes, I'm not saying again, don't get me wrong, that the technical things are not good to be learned. They have to be learned, and myself, I love to explore technical things, but I think at the end of the day is a lot. At least when I look at my investment journey and the mistake that I've made, they are rarely linked to the lack of technical knowledge. The most of the time linked to me overlooking my own psychology and being influenced by factors or try go back to the pattern, let's say the programmation that I have with my own life. And yeah, when I take it more easy, it works much better, and I accept what's come out from the market. Yeah.
Which nearly brings us to the next part, which is going to be finding the ultimate signals, get rid of the unwanted noise. But to know or to see that, you need to check us out next week. So thank you so much for this week, Anthony. It's a pleasure having you. I know that a lot of people appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex.